Oh, here's my chapter. Queen of Field Mice. Wow. Hey guys, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. And I've got a special surprise for you for this special St. Patrick's Day episode. Well, I know it's not St. Patrick's Day right now today, but I know it's one day early, but I got a really special surprise for you guys. But I'll tell you about it after the opening logo. Now, before I get started, let me talk about one of the most legendary book franchises, which became the most memorable pieces of entertainment. The Oz franchise. Starting with The Wizard of Oz book. The Wizard of Oz, or also known as The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, is a children's novel written by Baum and illustrated by W. W. Denslow. Originally published by the George M. Hill Company in Chicago on May 17, 1900. It has since been reprinted numerous times, most often under the name The Wizard of Oz, which is the name of both the popular 1902 Broadway musical and the well-known 1939 film adaptation, which was recently re-released in IMAX 3D just a few months ago. The story chronicles the adventures of a young girl named Dorothy Gale in the land of Oz after being swept away from her Kansas farm home in a cyclone. The novel is one of the best-known stories in American popular culture and has been widely translated. Its initial success and the success of the 1902 Broadway musical, which Baum adapted from his original story, led to Baum's writing 13 more Oz books. The original book has been in the public domain in the U.S. since 1956. And Baum also dedicated the book to his good friend and comrade, his wife, Maud Gage Baum, in January 1901. George M. Hill Company, the publisher, completed printing the first edition, which totaled 10,000 copies. And over the years, there have been several films and books developed from the Oz franchise. After I saw Wicked at the Pantages Theater a few years ago on stage, I've rented several other Oz films from Netflix, like these for example. However, some of these were interesting, but some didn't quite capture the tone of the original 1939 classic did. Also, over the years, during my time acting at Musical Theater Village in Irvine, California, I never did have a big role during my time. But then in the summer of 2010, my big break finally came when my director, Denise Fenton, cast me as the wizard. Now, I don't want to be much of a brag or anything, but after my big role as the Wizard of Oz back in 2010, mostly everyone at the theater said that of all the wizard actors, they thought that I was the best out of them, which I didn't want to believe at first, but I was starting to see the big picture. And if you guys have seen my 2 videos of me as the wizard, then you probably know what I'm talking about. The reason why I'm telling you all this, why I'm talking about Oz at the moment, is because this is not just the day before St. Patrick's Day, but this is also my final day performing as Oz this year. By the way, has anyone ever wondered how the great and powerful Oz came to be? Well, just last March, the Walt Disney Company, with the help of Evil Dead director Sam Raimi, made a film that maybe most Oz fans were most likely waiting for. Released on March 8th, 2013, the movie is Oz the Great and Powerful. Now, on to the blog. Oscar Diggs, a small-time circus magician with dubious antics, is hurled away from dusty Kansas to the vibrant land of Oz, where he meets three witches, Theodora, Evanora, and Glinda, who are not totally convinced that he is the great wizard everyone's been expecting. He is reluctantly drawn into the epic problems facing the land of Oz and its inhabitants, so Oscar must find out who is good and who is evil before it's too late. Now, what are my thoughts on this latest Oz movie? Well, it started out great, but some parts did kind of go downhill at times. But then during the ending climax, it was awesome, and I liked it. Even some parts of the movie made me think of the original 1939 film from all of its similarities. Well, I'll talk about those later. Sure, it's not better than the old one, but as well as my big break from 2010 musical Theater Village. However, the visuals in this film are really, really great, and the music by Danny Elfman fits perfectly. And most of the Oz characters are really memorable and nice to look at as well. Speaking of characters, let's just skip Mustang notes and just move on to the characters and the cast. Now, only talk about the ones who stick out the most in this film. So I'll not be talking about the guys in the Munchkin Village or the Emerald City Guards. So let's just get started. Now, our main lead and Wizard of Oz, Oscar Diggs, is played by James Franco from the Spider-Man trilogy, from the original Spider-Man trilogy and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This guy is a stage magician and a barnstormer who's part of a traveling circus in the Midwest who gets, well, with the land of Oz where everyone believes he's the wizard that's prophesied to be ruling. This guy was okay, but he was a little bit bland at times. And trust me, like, the other guys are way better characters than him as well. One of the witches, Theodora, is played by Mila Kunis, best known from the Fox sitcom That 70s Show. She starts out as a beautiful and naive good witch, and who has the best interests at her heart. And she's like the first witch that Oscar meets when he arrives in Oz. Well, I kind of liked her, but when the moment she turns into the character who's kind of considered one of the horrors of my ever-waking moments, the Witch of the West, it practically terrified me when she bit into that apple and really creeped me. But the way Mila Kunis performs as those two roles, it's pretty neat. It's almost like as if she's learned from Margaret Hamilton of how to do the Witch of the West. Evanora is played by Rachel Weisz. She in the film starts out as said to be the protector of the Emerald City and former advisor to the original King of Oz, but whose murder she has committed prior to the events of the film. She framed Glinda for the murder, and yeah, you may have guessed it, she's the main antagonist. She even deceives Oscar by framing Glinda for the king's murder and telling Oscar that Glinda is the witch rather than herself. It's like, when I first saw her, I could probably not even trust her, though. However, it gets really creepy how she becomes her true form near the end of the film. Next up is the good witch, Glinda. The witch of the, well, in the film she's said to be called the Witch of the South, but I prefer to call her the Witch of the North. And she's played by Michelle Williams. Her role in the film is to rule and protect the peaceful kingdom in Oz, inhabiting by kind quadlings, tinkers, and munchkins. And she was originally believed to be the wicked witch responsible for terrorizing the land. In the film, she guides Oscar to achieve his destiny of defeating Evanora, and becomes his love interest in the process. Now that's kind of a sweet role for her. And also in the film, Williams does play another character. Like in the other Oz films like The Wizard of Oz and Return to Oz, this film does include some characters to have Kansas counterparts. Michelle Williams, for example, plays a woman named Annie. Annie in the film, well, even though she doesn't show herself too often, she does have some kind of build-up to the Oz stories that take place afterwards. She in the film is an old flame of Oscar's, and also a future mother to Dorothy, the protagonist of the Wizard of Oz. Next up is one of the supporting characters, Finley, who's voiced by Scrubs' Zach Braff. This guy is one of my favorite characters in the film. But I should point out a little info on why I love this character. Finley is a winged monkey who pledges his life to Oscar after being rescued from the Cowardly Lion in the film. At first, when I first saw this guy, I thought he was going to be one of the bad guys since, he's a flying monkey and all. But it turns out, thank God I was wrong about him. It's in the case of not judging someone by their cover. Besides, Finley was a really funny character. Also, just to note, like Michelle Williams, Braff also has a Kansas counterpart. He plays Oscar's long-suffering yet loyal assistant, Frank. Now the last character I want to talk about is the China Girl, voiced by Joey King, from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. The China Girl and Finley are my favorite characters in this film. However, China Girl is a young doll from the Chinatown where everything, including the inhabitants, are made of China sets. Her home was destroyed by Evanora's baboons, leaving her as its only survivor. And when Oscar found her and mended her leg with glue, she formed a strong friendship. And plus, this girl is a really sweet character, and also I like how she's computer generated in this film. It makes her to me, she's really adorable. And also in this film, like the other two I just mentioned earlier, King plays has a Kansas counterpart as well. In this, she also plays a girl in a wheelchair visiting Oscar's magic show. And now to move on to my final words of this blog. Above all, while Oz the Great and Powerful may not be one of the best Oz movies of all time, this film is still an interesting build-up to the Wizard's rise in power, and it's a great way to introduce your kids to the Wizard of Oz franchise. The scenery is beautiful, the music by Danny Elfman is really epic and interesting, and most of the characters are really enjoyable. You may not like it as much as the other Oz films, but if you have kids, I'm sure they might enjoy it much more than you. I would give this film a rating of 75%. Oh, and don't worry, from now on I'll show my ratings are equal in star forms. Well, that's all for... Hold on a minute. I just got a message from Oz. It's just come in. OMG. Well, I'll have to see if I can blog that one when the right time comes. But for now, this is Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, saying, Mustang power! Oh, and happy St. Patrick's Day.